Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, guys, on Friday, two separate federal judges issued directly contradictory rulings, which set up yet another Supreme Court showdown over abortion rights. First, a district court judge in Texas issued a sweeping ruling that would completely roll back the FDA approval for the abortion drug mifepristone. Over 50% of abortions in the U.S. are now accomplished using this drug, which was approved over 20 years ago by the FDA. Never in history has a court claimed the ability to unilaterally roll back a drug approval of abortion drug or anything else, superseding the judgment of the government agency that is charged with overseeing drug safety for the judgment of one unelected judge. Now, the fact that mifepristone has been used safely for more than 20 years makes this decision all the more astonishing. And the safety and efficacy of the drug is not actually in doubt. A recent comprehensive review of 101 different studies involving 124,000 medication abortions found one death related to an infection from the abortion and one from unrelated causes. But while the use of mifepristone is about as risky as taking an aspirin, it's not exactly a pleasant experience because it essentially causes a miscarriage with the associated cramps and bleeding. And it is this unpleasantness that this judge used to insist the drug is not safe in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. I'm trying to be sober and fact-based on all of this, but it cannot be overstated how much of an anti-abortion ideologue this judge reveals himself to be in this ruling. So on page 1, he includes a note about how he will insist on using the loaded term unborn human or unborn child to refer to a fetus at any stage of development, which would really be something in any context. But especially since this particular medication is only used in the early weeks of a pregnancy, long before viability. He also gives multiple nods to the fringe idea that a fetus should have all the same rights as an adult person. Now, the logical conclusion of such a view is obviously that abortion should be banned nationwide, in Alabama and California alike. And if that wasn't enough, this judge also frames abortion as being equivalent to eugenics. So Kaczmarek, that's the name of the judge, really not hiding the ball here in terms of his own personal zealotry. Even putting aside the fetal personhood stuff, though, which could lead to an all-out ban, this decision would have a dramatic impact, ending availability of the most common form of abortion, not just in red states, but in every state in the entire nation, thereby exposing the lie that the Dobbs decision is really just about allowing each state to choose the abortion regulations that are culturally appropriate for their populations as determined through a democratic process. This judge in Texas would seek to impose his own personal, radical interpretation of morality on the whole country. But mere hours later, another federal judge issued a separate ruling that is a direct contradiction to the one which would ban mifepristone in all 50 states. So a Washington state judge issued an injunction which would bar the FDA from altering the status quo with regard to this drug. So just to be clear, the Texas judge has now told the FDA the drug must be blocked from use everywhere. The Washington judge has said it must still be allowed in the states where it is currently in use. Now, the Texas judge did issue a 5-day stay while the Fifth Circuit reviews a Biden administration appeal. But the Fifth Circuit is the most conservative in the country. Legal analysts seem to expect it to uphold this ruling. So in the meantime, there is actually no way for the FDA to comply with both of these rulings. The most sensible course, and the one they will most likely pursue, is to use their enforcement discretion, maintain the status quo until this impasse is resolved. And the only way this impasse can really be resolved is through the Supreme Court. Now, it's ironic, it's also predictable. In their Dobbs ruling overturning Roe versus Wade, the court made a big show of claiming they'd be washing their hands of abortion, framing the decision as a sort of gift for democracy, allowing the citizens of every state to now legislate for themselves. This was always a farce, as the religious right, including presidential contender Mike Pence, immediately began agitating for a federally passed national abortion ban. Cases such as the one presided over by the Texas judge also expose that hardcore anti-abortion activists will not be satisfied with letting each state just figure it out for themselves. They believe a one-day fetus is a person with full rights and will not be content to allow California to continue what they see as a mass genocide. After all, they played the long game very effectively on overturning Roe and managed to pull it off after decades of organizing and dogged determination, not because they won over public opinion, but because they knew how to exploit the most undemocratic parts of our current system. Now, in my opinion, this is all a disaster for women, especially working-class women, since rich women have always had access to the care that they want. But it's also an unmitigated disaster for the Republican Party. Last week alone, They got destroyed in the quintessential swing state of Wisconsin because their extreme position on abortion is so toxic to moderates and so motivating to young progressives in particular. Young Wisconsin college students apparently turned out in droves for a state Supreme Court race, which normally would be an incredibly sleepy affair, all because the fate of abortion rights in the state was clearly on the ballot. Their numbers for a spring race such as this were truly unprecedented. Now, you can already see how uncomfortable Republicans are in the wake of these rulings. Democrats put statements out immediately decrying the abortion pill ban. Republicans, like this member of Congress, did everything they could to try to avoid the topic.
But I just want to point one important thing out, which is that mifepristone isn't just used for abortion. It's also frequently prescribed for women experiencing a miscarriage. And by some estimates, as many as 1 million women miscarry every single year. So are they just on their own if this ruling is upheld?
No, I think it's important that we take care of women, and it's important that we have real discussions on women's health care and get off the abortion, get off the abortion conversation. Women have a whole lot more other issues than just abortion. Let's have those real conversations, and let's talk about the other things that are happening in this world. I've got a picture of Amelia and Maria. They recently passed away 3 weeks ago due to a smuggler in my district. What does that mean? That means there's all these other things happening in the world, especially in my district. I've got a district that's turned upside down due to this border crisis. There's everyday people that are impacted on this crisis, to include the Tambungas.
He may as well have just come out and said, please, for the love of God, can we talk about an issue that pulls a little bit better for Republicans? Now, Americans, I think they tend to have moderate views on abortion. Whichever party seems like they're taking an extreme stance is going to find themselves on the losing end of this fraught and morally complicated issue. With the overturning of Roe, there is no more moderate ground for the Republicans to fight on. Every push to further erode the rights that still exist is an extreme position. According to Gallup, only 13% at this point agree with abortion being banned in all circumstances. So even most Republican voters do not agree with the religious right position. And if Republican elites were hoping maybe people are just going to move on and forget about the fact that 13-year-olds are now forced to have their rapist babies in plenty of places in this country, they're delusional. Wisconsin shows people are not moving on. And the fate of medication abortion heading to the Supreme Court shows the issue, it's not going away. Richard Hanani actually recently wrote this on Twitter. He wrote, being the pro-life party may be incompatible with being competitive anywhere outside Appalachia and the South. We assume because the country has been evenly divided, it'll stay that way. But Dems might be moving towards permanent majority. So Republicans, if you like losing by 11 points in Wisconsin, 15 points in Pennsylvania, 10 points in Michigan, well, you're right on track, guys. And the powerful movement which brought victory at the Supreme Court after decades of lawfare, they have no intention of stopping now. So there's a complicated legal situation here because you have two judges issuing contradictory rulings. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now. And Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.